Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2. I'm joined by Stephen Howson. Steve, a much improved Manchester United, certainly compared to that Newcastle game. What did you make of the Reds today?
It was good. I thought I was getting a few texts beforehand. Jaden texted me saying, "Oh, good team," and I thought, have a look. I looked at it and I was like, or is it the expected team that everybody assumed we were going to play? I don't know if I'd call it a good team, but it worked. It obviously did everything that we needed it to do. I think it highlighted a couple of issues. Even though I thought Delot probably had his best game under Amorim tonight, I think a striker and a left wing back and this team, at least from a starting 11 point of view, might actually do something. But Ugarte was class. I thought Mainu was good, but it kind of highlighted that he doesn't have the natural instinct for a defensive performance. And it's like he can do it sometimes, and he was heavily involved, but you can tell it doesn't come naturally to him like it does for Ugarte, who was class. Out of the ones wearing a United shirt, he was United's best player. Out of all of the players on the pitch, Trent was our best player.
Yeah, he was absolutely horrendous, wasn't he? Just on Trent then, people were saying in some of our comments that Liverpool kind of let us in down that side. I think that was just good. United noticed that this guy is playing awfully today, and we can get past him at will. So we kept going down that side. Did you like seeing that from United? Did you like that we saw a weakness and thought, let's just exploit the weakness?
Maybe that's what we did, but almost every performance I've ever seen of him is like that. When has he not done that? When have you ever sat there and watched a game and go, tell you what, can't get past Trent today? Mm-hmm. When have you ever said that?
No.
When have you ever said he is like a absolute brick wall?
Yeah.
When has he ever put in a performance where like Mazraoui's just like winning duels left, right and centre? He doesn't do that. He's never done that. And as soon as the ball is played in behind him, you hear that window shut down music. Doon, 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 doon. And it's just completely over. He doesn't think about the game at all anymore then. He's so shit at defending the space in behind him. He gets away with it because he spams in about 1 million crosses a game, and some of them occasionally land on someone's head, or he can smack a free kick. But it's embarrassing that people think that he's even remotely in contention to be like the Premier League's greatest all time. It makes me mad. Honestly, it does. It's ridiculous.
United exploited that space well. Just obviously some other sort of areas of the pitch that I think you mentioned. Bruno Fernandes has been getting a lot of stick. He's had a lot of stick his whole time at United, and in particular the performance 2 years ago at Anfield where we lost 7-0. There was question marks about him being captain, about his just overall ability to play in big games. He said it himself, and I thought he was phenomenal today. What did you make of his performance and how necessary it was for a performance like that from him?
He gives the ball away a hell of a lot still. But what I would say, something that he's not done maybe this season, is he was winning his duels. Like, he was actually winning the tackles that he was going in for. So often with Bruno, you see him being a little bit busy, but not actually coming away with the ball ever. That wasn't necessarily the case today. He was taking the ball off people today, and Trent a lot, obviously, but he was actually winning the ball a lot today. And I still wouldn't mind him toning it down at times. He does seem to send someone like he could tone it down 25% and still have very, very effective games. Like, there is a carelessness to him sometimes, but it worked by and large today. And his energy is good. I understand. I don't necessarily agree, but I understand when people are talking about like he doesn't have the demeanour of a captain. I think we've got this image of Nemanja Vidic and Roy Keane and Steve Bruce and even Cantona to a greater or lesser extent of these real stoic, manly leaders. And Bruno's leadership doesn't come under that category. He is someone that won't be outworked by anyone, and you can never question his commitment and his work rate. But the way he conducts himself doesn't align in the same category as those previous captains, even Gary Neville, in terms of like what's perceived as quite a manly sort of way of being a leader. So he gets criticised for that. And even if people don't use that exact terminology, I think that's what it is. Because when people talk about petulance, That's what they're on about. They're not on about anything else. It's the occasional throwing of his arms. It's those little sort of micro behaviours that you see from him. Ultimately, that's what they're, because who gives a shit about petulance at the end of the day, really? Because Cantona was pretty petulant at times, but he did it in a slightly different way. So I think when people are saying that, I think they're disguising their language just to use it as they don't think he's manly enough to be United captain. But when he was anointed captain, there was no options. And I think once you are the captain, unless you've done something catastrophic that requires it to be taken off you, I think it's a mad insult to take the captaincy off somebody. And I also don't necessarily think that there's a more standout candidate. I think Lisandro Martinez at one point might have been someone that you're like, I can see him wearing an armband at some point. His form's, I know he scored a fantastic goal today, but his form's been questionable this season. His starting place might not be as secure as it once was unless we can, see more good performances than bad out of him. So, okay, you're taking the captaincy off Bruno Fernandes. To give it who?
I don't think there's any option, really.
Yeah. So, we've been spoilt with some unbelievable leaders. I mean, even Wayne Rooney. People talk about Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was petulant, but he did it in an aggressive, perceptively manly way. Therefore, it was accepted. It's still petulance. It's still immaturity at times. The things that he did, and the red cards and the frustration that he would play with at times. But it's just perceived a little bit differently. Same with Roy Keane. Same with Vidic. They will smash somebody, but that's seen as being a positive trait rather than a negative trait. I do think there's someone who's probably got a sports psychology degree can probably explain why this type of leadership is probably more beneficial than this type of leadership or whatever. But if it's right for the group, it's right for the group. And ultimately, unless you know every single person in that group, you're not going to know whether it's right or wrong, or if there's a genuine better option. And I'm not sure there is.
No, I definitely don't think there is. Speaking of people who have been captain and had the armband taken off, and Harry Maguire seems to have made himself one of Amorim's, not necessarily the first name on the team sheet, but he seems to be in United's first choice starting 11 now. What do you make of it? I obviously I've sort of defended him down the years, but without being sort of tongue-in-cheek about it, I think we're seeing the best version of him that we've seen in probably 3 or 4 years at Man United. I think seems to have a genuine role at United, and obviously almost got in a position to score the winner at the end. Are you impressed by him? You've not always been his biggest fan, obviously.
I wouldn't say impressed, but I'm not annoyed at seeing his name on a team sheet like I have been in the past.
Yeah.
I think he's relatively reliable. I still think there's issues with his awareness and his scanning. It just doesn't. I wouldn't blame him for the shot at the end. It's a great opportunity, but I wouldn't crucify someone for missing that. I think it's bobbled as it's come towards him as well, for starters. It would have been great if he'd buried it. I think on the flip side of that as well, someone who's recently just had a load of criticism in Xerxes, I think well played for Amorim and Xerxes for getting him back out on the pitch after that last week. That could have seen his United career off. It still might see his United career off, right? But at least it looks like there's no drama between the manager and the player. And he was appreciative to the away fans singing his name by the looks of things as well. I don't know if that came across on the watch long because you wouldn't have had the sound on. But he did acknowledge the away fans, and the away fans were singing his name. So that was good to see. How good would it have been if he'd have smashed that top bins when he went through? Because I literally went, oh, as he went through, thinking, Christ, go on. What a story that would have been.
Just across the keeper, right into the top corner. It would have been amazing. Just as a performance then, what does that mean, or what could that mean for United going forward? Because we saw under Ten Hag, I know it was a different situation, but we lost to Brighton and Brentford, and then we beat Liverpool, and it started like a 19-game unbeaten, or I think we dropped, lost 3 games in 25 games or something after that. Some really impressive run. Could this be the start of something like that, or do you expect more Newcastle performances before we get more of these sort of Liverpool performances where we actually look like a team? Could this be a springboard for that?
Well, do you know the difference here between Ole, Ten Hag and Amorim is, like, Ole had this great away record, phenomenal away record, and then Ten Hag had this dog shit away record. Yeah. Amorim's got a bit of a mixed away record so far, but we've played basically all of the big names away from home at the moment. I thought we were very good against Arsenal, and undone by a couple of set pieces where it was pure schoolboy stuff. We've beat Manchester City. We were dog shit for a bit against Spurs and then pulled it back a little bit out of surprise. And I think we've come away from Anfield being unlucky here. Like, but the one thing I can see is that we've gone away from home in these games. We've taken the ball. We haven't gone to these places and had 22% possession, which I've seen United have in recent years. I think Liverpool just edged us a couple of percent today, 54 to 40, 54 to 46 or something along those lines.
It was 52-48, so even closer than that.
Even closer, yeah. So, like, you can say United are taking the ball and they're in this game. We didn't have a lot of penetration. But when when you look at Liverpool's 11 to United's 11, how could you expect us to? Like, Højlund is miles off being good enough. There is, like I said earlier, I think Dalot is probably had his best game for Amorim today, but I still think he's not the answer as a left wing back. I'd still like to see Ahmad playing as a right wing back, which means that then we could bring somebody else in a more creative role, in another offensive position. Like, we're very much in a make do situation with the squad here. So whatever he's doing away from home is working. So that gives me a little bit of confidence that away from home, I think we're going to have a go. It's not always going to work because I think we're miles away from having our ideal 11, settled 11, and I have no idea if we're going to bring anybody in this month. Can we figure out what it is at home? Maybe the switch is at home, yeah, you are going to play Ahmad on the right-hand side and you're going to put more offensive players on the pitch, and maybe we'll start to see some better results there. I did say before the Newcastle game, if we'd have had Ugarte, I would have gone into this with a bit more confidence. And we was dog shit against Newcastle, but you can see on the performance that we saw from Ugarte today, he would have made an enormous difference. Like, Eriksen and Casemiro was a bad idea when he wrote it down, let alone when they stepped out onto the pitch. Yep. And you saw today with Mainu and Ugarte, I'm hoping he's learning. I'm hoping he's seeing what he can get out of these players. And I hope that we bring somebody in off, just pluck a youngster out and see what they can do. There's plenty of offensive talent in the academy that you go, do you know what? Let's have a look.
Yeah, it does feel as though, people talk about, the results aren't that much better, but you can sort of see signs. I think that's a big one, like you said. Looking like we want to keep the ball away from home. We've been more than happy to accept the opposition dominating that as long as they don't score against us for, under most managers since Sir Alex, really. That's how we set up, but against City
it's only
today...
Van Gaal, I think, that actually wanted the ball. Yeah. Only Van Gaal that I think actually kind of went toe-to-toe, and his record wasn't amazing. It was better than most, but it weren't great.
Yeah, it was. Just finally then, do you think this keeps people off Amorim's back for a little bit? Obviously, we've got another week now to the Arsenal game. If we lose that heavily, then it'll be right the same. But do you think this is... All the chat's been about us getting relegated and relegation clauses in our Adidas contracts and all this. That felt like a big sign today. Maybe not, we're going to push and do anything this season, but that what he's doing can translate to big games. Do you think that'll go a long way to help him?
Yeah, maybe. Because I was fully expecting us to get rodded today.
Yeah.
And I know I wasn't on my own. I think United fans were very, very pessimistic going into this fixture. Does that now mean that we're all going to be deluded against Arsenal? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Very likely, I would think. But I still think this team's miles off it in terms of goals. I was looking earlier about 2015 squad, which was shit, right? Look at what we had in the forward line in 2015. Martial, Rashford, Memphis, Rooney, Mata, Januzaj. It's just Valencia probably, then Ashley Young. Do you know when you start reeling off the names, and then you reel off the names that we've got now? Like I said to you months ago, mate, it's a West Ham level forward line, and I'm not changing my opinion on that. And this is without Marcus Rashford, who is fully MIA at the moment. He has been absolutely locked out of the changing room, and they've changed the fucking password and everything now. Like, I don't think he's getting back in it. I think the next time you'll see him play, it'll be in somebody else's shirt, by the looks of things. That looks like he's got zero chance of reconciliation. So if that's the case, sweet. because that's what the gaffer wants. I'm assuming it's him that's made this decision. So if that's what the gaffer wants, sweet. He needs replacing though, because this forward line was not good enough before Marcus Rashford got exiled. So it's definitely not good enough without him. So, we require players. If we get some, yeah, we might have half a shot. Like I said, we're kind of getting it right away from home, which I think is harder than at home. So if you can get it right away from home, I think you can get it right at home. And we have seen the likes of Forest, do a big 180 in terms of their league position, seemingly very quickly. Can we do the same? We can, but you're gonna need, I would think, 2 or 3 players minimum, and they need to be the correct players to make it happen. Like, you can't make a mistake and expect that's going to happen.
No. Right, thank you very much, Steve. Thank you for joining us at home. Hit subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see you in a bit.